Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Namaskar. This is Engineer Suraj Singh speaking from Bharat, India on this day, November 25th, 2021, Thursday. It's now 4 o'clock in the morning. मैं सूरज सिंह भारत इंडिया से बोल रहा हूँ आज नवंबर 25, 2021 और टॉपिक आपके सामने सुबह के 4 बजे सिविल फील्ड इंजीनियरिंग एंड क्वालिटी सेफ्टी कंस्ट्रक्शन डिज़ाइंस मेथड्स disputes, organizations, communication, coordination, etc., all that. As usual, for your information, certain certifications, it says International Professional Engineer India, or you can say Competency Certificate. This is another certificate that's Chartered Engineer India, which is related to membership, corporate membership, original membership, statutory membership of Institution of Engineers India, which is a royal chartered body, not a registered society, but a chartered body, corporate body according to law. This is a statutory body, or you can say not statutory, but also constitutional status. This is because charter means constitution, and this is for membership of that institution, and that is quality file, where communication and coordination, most significant disciplines I consider according to my experience, according to what I have. मेरे अनुभव के हिसाब से ये सर्टिफिकेट्स तभी वैल्यू रखते हैं जब आप काम करें ढंग से, नहीं तो इन सर्टिफिकेट्स का कोई मतलब नहीं रह जाता, इन चीज़ों का कोई मतलब नहीं रह जाता अगर हम ये सब ना पाएँ, क्वालिटी पाना है, कम्युनिकेशन बहुत ज़रूरी है, कम्युनिकेशन एंड कोऑर्डिनेशन बहुत ज़रूरी, बहुत आवश्यक। झगड़े तो होते हैं, डिस्प्यूट्स होते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स में, उनका सोल्यूशन भी ज़रूरी होता है। एवरीवेयर ऑन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स वी फाइंड दैट disputes occur, and those disputes are required to be solved, and we have here certain act, and those acts are very significant. Every country has certain acts like Arbitration Conciliation Act 1996, अधिनियम आर्बिट्रेशन काउंसिल 1996 हमारे देश में, भारत में, जिसमें अगर झगड़े हो जाएं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पे बिटवीन कॉन्ट्रैक्टर एंड एम्प्लॉयर, वो झगड़ों को सुलझा कैसे जाए। झगड़े का मतलब मार पिटाई से नहीं है यहाँ पे, बी क्लियर अबाउट दिस, बट यू आर टॉकिंग डिस्प्यूट्स ऑन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जिसे हम कहते हैं करार, दो दलों के बीच में, दो पार्टियों के बीच में, एक एम्प्लॉयर और दूसरा ठेकेदार। डेवलपमेंट के लिए दोनों की आवश्यकता। एम्प्लॉयर इज ए मस्ट एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्टर ऑल्सो इज ए मस्ट इफ यू कैनॉट डू वर्क योर सेल्फ। इफ पार्टी इज एबल टू डू वर्क इट सेल्फ, देयर इज नो मीनिंग ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर। इफ गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट और प्राइवेट कंपनी और व्हाट्सोएवर कैन वर्क देमसेल्व्स, देयर शुड बी नो रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर। कोई भी कंपनी, कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, कोई भी ऑनर अगर काम को स्वयं करा सके तो मैं नहीं समझता इससे अच्छी कोई बात हो सकती है। देयर कैन बी नथिंग बेटर देन इफ़ यू कैन डू योर कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्क योर सेल्फ, योर डिज़ाइन वर्क योर सेल्फ मीन्स थ्रू सम consultants, through some designers, and you can procure whatever is required from market and construct accordingly. If you can do that, I think that is best way it should be, but it doesn't happen. Even for a small construction, people hire either workforce or labor contractor, or they hire some contractor for purpose of doing this, because it is very cumbersome job, technical and cumbersome. It's very much job where your intensity is required, your concentration is required, and that is, you can say you have to work yourself, you have to become your own promoter of your building. But in reality it doesn't happen anywhere in world. India, Bharat is very big country, Arab world is very big subcontinent, like whole GCC countries, as well as Middle East like Iraq, Iran, you can say Libya, and many other countries as such. All those countries develop, we also develop. We have immense population and we have immense knowledge. We have everything that is immense. हमारे पास वो सब क्षमता है हमारे देश में, भारत में, इंडिया में, कि हमारे पास पब्लिक बहुत है, हमारे पास सारे रिसोर्सेस हैं, हमारे पास सब कुछ है. फिर भी हम क्यों नहीं आगे बढ़ के स्वयं काम कर लेते, इंजीनियरिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन का या मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग तो चलो फैक्ट्रीज में होती है, वो तो हमारे हाथ में भी नहीं है, बट कंस्ट्रक्शन फॉर डेवलपमेंट इज इन आवर हैंड्स. आई हैव सीन and every day you see construction goes on, construction of housing, construction you can say of private houses, construction of roads, construction of buildings, construction of flyovers. You find in every city, in every village some construction. जिंदगी के हर क्षेत्र में भारत में हर रोज हम लोग कुछ ना कुछ निर्माण कार्य देखते हैं. निर्माण कार्य कुछ लोगों को अच्छा लगता होगा, कुछ लोगों को अच्छा नहीं लगता होगा, अपनी अपनी चॉइस है, लेकिन कहाँ तक क्वालिटी की बात है. एज एन इंजीनियर आई कैन से whenever I see this, I have seen many parts of this country as far as construction is concerned, and I feel very upset when I see that construction. I know that we cannot achieve quality according to requirement, not because we cannot achieve it, but we have no will to achieve that. हमारी इच्छा ही नहीं है क्वालिटी लेने की. I worked in many countries, of course not in USA or West because West is not civil engineering oriented. I have worked in countries which are civil construction oriented, like Gulf countries, Qatar, Doha, UAE, Kuwait. Likewise these countries, Oman, Saudi, Bahrain. These are such countries they have got money. Of course, since they got oil, they had to develop. They had nothing, only deserts one time. If you conceive that time, long before, say 5 or 6 decades back, 7, 8 decades back, they had nothing except desert. उनके पास कुछ था नहीं. इन अरब देश के लोगों के पास, अरब देश के राष्ट्रों के पास, जिसमें ख़ास तौर से मुख्य तौर से GCC कंट्री आती हैं, गल्फ़ काउंसिल की कंट्री जो आती हैं, उस पास डेजर्ट के अलावा कुछ नहीं था. थके हुए लोग, हारे हुए लोग, लेकिन जब उनके पास ऊपर वाले ने पैसा दे दिया, तेल से उन्होंने पैसा कमाया, तो आज उनको आप देखिए वो कहाँ हैं. आपसे बहुत आगे क्वालिटी के मामले में, कंस्ट्रक्शन के मामले में, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर के मामले में. उनकी अपनी देश की आबादी से ज़्यादा लोग बाहर के रहते हैं. मैनी टाइम्स मोर पीपल स्टे देयर फ्रॉम अदर कंट्रीज, बट दे हैव गुड कंट्रोल ऑफ every aspect of life. They have good law and order, and they can say that they have a quality system, and every work whatever is done according to near compliance of quality system. You can say, I cannot say 100% compliance, in some cases even more than 100% it does, but in general we can say they work according to requirements, and that is great appreciation. I worked, if you take example of Iraq, when I was there in 1981, 82, 83, I was very raw, very young. In fact, I was in construction first time there as contractor person, and I realized that I knew nothing what a contractor should do according to that system of Iraq. I had worked in Delhi for 6 months or 6 years, but I did not know what engineering construction was. Engineering theory and engineering syllabus does not tell me and tell anyone what you have to do, because theory is theory and practice is practice. Experience teaches everyone a lot. When you really deal with responsibility, you deal with material, human resources, machines, technology, and handling others, you really come to know difference between imaginary theory and real work. Every day you have to learn something, every day you have to make some mistake, and every day you have to do correct work. Mistakes cannot be avoided, by everyone, by anyone. Mistakes are mistakes. गलती सबसे होती है, इस बात को मानने में कोई बुराई नहीं है, क्योंकि हम जब सीखते हैं तो गलती भी करते हैं। और इंजीनियरिंग का मतलब सीखना होता है। आप फील्ड में आ गए, आप ये समझते हैं कि आपने डिग्री की है, आपने मास्टर्स की है, आप बहुत बड़े आदमी हैं, तो ठीक है, आप समझते रहिए, बड़े तो आप हैं क्योंकि आपने पढ़ाई की है। पढ़ाई के रिलेशन में, एजुकेशन के रिलेशन में आप बड़े हैं, इसमें कोई झूठ नहीं है। इफ़ वन हैज़ डिप्लोमा होल्डर और वन इज़ डिग्री or masters or doctor, of course we can say to an extent academics is concerned, education of engineering is concerned, you have reached somewhere. But it does not mean that you have reached everywhere, because you have started to walk. आपने चलना शुरू किया है. You have started to walk, and you have to walk a long distance. Not only you have to walk, but also you have to walk with a long pace, you have to walk with some running exercise, and you have to fly, and that stage consumes entire life. Engineering is that type of profession where you cannot sit and say that I am an engineer. I used to think in those days that if I have a degree, I am an engineer. Yes, that's right. Legally it's okay, you are qualified engineer, academically qualified, but you are not really an engineer. No academics degree can confirm, can tell that you are an engineer. Even a professor in IIT or any other university can confirm that one is an engineer. Yes, one is professor, that is true. Professor means one can teach students. It does not mean that one is an engineer. Yes, engineer by qualification one is, but not by reality of world. Engineering world lies in reality of construction, reality of designs. If you are not a real designer, you don't design, you call, I'm an engineer, I'm designing, I'm a designer, well fine, you may say that, but until you design something, you will know how many problems do exist in designs. Design is not easy word, same way construction is not easy word. Design means to conceive, to develop something mentally, based on what can happen on site. One can be problem, you should know what problem is there, and that is called constructability. If you do not know what is construction, what is ability, you cannot do that. So many points are there, and we can say, I am trying to show you what we can say. We have to achieve quality, that is our point of view, and quality in every subject, in every field, in every action, in every work. Until we realize this, we cannot improve ourselves. We have to walk correctly. We have to walk on a line of action. We cannot deviate this way or that way. That is what I incline to talk. My intention is to share my opinion with you for achieving quality in construction, quality in production, quality in manufacturing, quality in service, quality in education, quality in society, quality as individual, and quality in communication coordination is a very important part, as I think, because if you cannot communicate, you can't do anything. Can we ask ourselves what we are going to do? Can we comply with something or not? That's the question mark here. Now, why I try to show you this page, and that is Arbitration Conciliation Act. I have discussed with you this. Indeed, I have discussed with you fully, and we have seen all provisions of this. And here is a question of receipt of written communications. Likewise, communication is very important part. When we have disputes with contractor is a must. We are not able to do work ourselves. It's very difficult really. If you ask some engineer who comes from university, fresh engineer, ask him to take responsibility of construction, I can frankly and openly speak that engineer shall be failure, because that engineer does not know anything about work. Theory that engineer knows, formula that engineer knows, but in field theory and formula will not work. It cannot work. How to work in field, how to work on site, it requires experience, it requires actionable knowledge. I have knowledge, say, I do not know how to excavate, how to start it, but I know that excavation has to be done. That's all. How to do it, how to plan it, that is important. Means we have to consider safety factor. We have to consider not safety not only of workers, we have to consider safety of items, materials, and every related item. Excavation, though it's very easy, people say, oh, it's only excavation, there is no engineering in this. What's engineering there? Is just excavate and come out. Same way, concrete, they say it's concrete, they just mix some ingredients and do it. Very easy to say. Fact remains that engineers must change mindset. I am sure that engineering students or fresh or budding engineers' mind is that best profession is work in structures. Be structural engineer, and they feel happy to be called structural engineers because they sit in AC rooms. We rarely visit site, rarely, and visit is not enough. One cannot call oneself a structural engineer until you have site experience. This is my analysis. This is not a rule, it's my analytical understanding. If I do not know how work is conducted or carried out on site, what problems there may exist, I should never know, I would never know. I can understand problems only when I expose myself to reality. And that's what I am saying. Contractor, if really is genuine one, is a professional. If contractor is not genuine, I cannot call that person a professional. And I never accept these promoters and builders. These are all, ill-qualified people. They do not know anything about engineering or construction, but they construct. They are not professionals, but they take responsibilities and they want to make money. Neither our legal system knows what is engineering. Our honorable judges, they do not understand. Our advocates do not understand, but they poke their nose because of power. Engineering doesn't require power, it requires thorough devotion. Particularly in civil engineering world, construction is of utmost significance. It is really a long time product. When you buy some equipment from market or machine part or machine, you know what is to be bought and you know how it performs, and your performance is known in a couple of months. You can buy your machine based on your experience because I bought last time and it performed well, so I am going to perform again. And you may require 2 machines, 3 machines, 4 machines likewise based on your experience which you have got during your lifetime, because machine never exceeds 5 years of lifetime. It is equivalent to scrap after that. But if these are not very important machines like machines or vessels or plants, ordinary machines like you can say generator or some other machine, a lathe machine or whatever it is, or even cranes and heavy machines, they never work for whole life. They work only for few years, and then they require a replacement. But same way electrical goods, you can say electrical goods, mechanical goods, and all other electronic goods, these never stay with you forever. There's a difference in engineering itself, means civil engineering and other engineering like mechanical, electrical, electronics, agriculture, aerospace, all those. There's a clear difference that product of civil engineering works with you, stays with you, serves you forever. Forever, I'm not saying millennium, but forever means till you live. Your lifetime, your generations to come, maybe 2 or 3 generations, they enjoy products of your provided civil engineering construction products. And that is beauty of civil engineering, which we do not realize. Young people should realize that it's no question of money earning, it's question of lifelong earning. You can make money, but that money shall not go with you and that won't be useful for you. But such asset that you make, buildings, houses, etc., shall be with you, with your children and with their children probably. So it is something different. Construction in civil engineering is quite different. It is for long term and therefore it cannot be taken for granted. You cannot keep in mind that I have to sell this. Even if you sell this, it shall stay there. If you not stay within that, somebody else will stay that. So it's question of somebody would use it, means life of your structure is more important. And you cannot say that I use this very good structure, next time I'll buy other one. You can't say that. And complete use of a structure cannot be known in 1 day or 2 days or in 1 month or 2 months. It takes decades for its distressing, for its deterioration. It takes many, many years to come. An important part is that this rests on soil, its foundations rest on soil, which directly doesn't happen in case of machines or equipment. It doesn't happen in case of transport, vehicles, cars, trucks, etc., which do not directly work on soil. But buildings, structures, construction, etc., all depend on direct relation to properties of soil. So we have to be very clear in our understanding that whatever we learn in our university and civil engineering program, it's very much effective to some extent. For example, foundation engineering, soil engineering, theory of structure analysis, and construction techniques. Though we do not learn construction techniques according to our syllabus, it's only for namesake. Real techniques can be realized only in physical working. And when we do physical working, we have to deal with contractors. It is true. I have not seen any single case, maybe some, you can say exceptions of course, where we take responsibility of prosecution of activities ourselves. I have not seen very many engineers, you can say many engineers in my life career, who can say that I did myself without taking support from contractor or some other. No one is there and people do not want to take any headache. I haven't seen many people who want to build houses. We have no time or we cannot do ourselves. We cannot take this much headache and therefore we are hiring either contractor or promoter. This happens often and not it happens everywhere. I have worked in Gulf and I know how work is done very well. I did not know that time when I entered first time at least, but I understand now that after a couple of decades of experience, I understand really construction is very important field of profession within a profession of civil engineering. People take it different way that only non-mind people work on site, and this misconception should go away. Because if they are non-mind people, then your design cannot be realized. If your design is realized on physical mode, then those people are very hardworking and intelligent because they do everything and depends on your design, of course, your detailing, how you communicate, and that's why I'm saying communication is very important part. Designs communicate to site people what they have to do. Detailing communicates to them how they have to run. And your design tells them, your key plan tells them, your project details tell them that you have to move this way, you have to take this point first and this point second, this activity first or this activity second, or this building first or this building second, this structure first or this structure second, likewise. And that is where we should be. We should be very, you can say, careful. We should be very, you can say, analytical in our approach. Design engineers should think of site, and site engineers should realize that is a responsibility to convert design detail into practical detail, into physical detail. And that is very important point we should be careful about. Everything cannot be taken for granted, and we should know what is construction. Certainly do not do our job. There are differences in opinion where cost impacts goes on to heads of or shoulders of contractor. Contractor shall never like to bear undue, you can say, undue enforcement of something. Contractor knows very well what work is And of course, engineer knows what work is. There are various ways. Technology remains same. We cannot change technology. We can change only procedures, direct procedures that through which we carry out work. We cannot change material quality. We cannot change whatever we buy from market and what is approved. We have to use all these combination of material, human resources, equipment, technology, and our efforts. This should be in such a way worked out that specified details or specified conditions are fulfilled. And if we cannot fulfill them, there is no meaning of having such provisions within contract. Then what is purpose of having such documents in contract if we cannot fulfill them? अगर हम वो काम उस तरह से करना नहीं चाहते जो हमारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की कंडीशंस में, शर्तों में, जो हमारे स्पेसिफिकेशंस में, जो कोड्स में, जो क्राइटेरिया दिया हुआ है, काम ऐसे होना चाहिए गुणवत्ता प्राप्त करने के लिए, अगर हम वो नहीं कर पाते तो उस काम करने का क्या मतलब रह जाता है? हमको ये बात अच्छी तरह से समझनी चाहिए। हम नहीं समझते हैं तो ये गलत होता है, क्योंकि समझने के बिना कुछ नहीं होता है। डिज़ाइन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट होता है, साइड वर्क उससे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट होता है। लेकिन यहाँ साइड वर्क तो मजाक बन गया है। हर आदमी आंख बंद करके, दिमाग बंद करके काम करना चाहता है। हर कॉन्ट्रैक्टर, इंजीनियर तो सुपरवाइज़ करे तो बहुत बड़ी बात है, लेकिन मैंने देखा है ऐसा नहीं होता है। और आर्किटेक्ट से तो बात ही करना बेकार है इस मामले में, क्योंकि वो किसी गिनती में नहीं है जहाँ तक कंस्ट्रक्शन की सुपरविज़न का सवाल है। वो ना सुपरविज़न जानते हैं, ना वो मेथड जानते हैं, बस धक्के मारो, काम करो। बुरा लगता है तो लगिए, साफ बोलना अच्छा है पब्लिक के इंटरेस्ट में। मैं इंजीनियर होने के बाद भी साफ साफ कह रहा हूँ कि इंजीनियर भी नहीं देखते हैं और आर्किटेक्ट से तो मतलब ही नहीं उठता कि देखिए, आई डोंट केयर अबाउट आर्किटेक्ट्स, आई डोंट केयर अबाउट इंजीनियर्स। इफ दे डोंट वांट टू टेक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ सुपरविजन, एंड दे आर क्वालिफाइड पीपल, दे नो व्हाट इज सुपरविजन, दे नो व्हाट आर स्पेसिफिकेशंस, दे नो व्हाट इज डिजाइन। इफ दे कैन नॉट डू देन देयर इज नो मीनिंग ऑफ बीइंग एन इंजीनियर. And I also don't care for institutions, because institutions have not done their respective jobs. It may be whatever institutions. Purpose of institution is to let people know they have to transfer knowledge to people, and they have to force engineers to do quality work. But this has failed. This didn't happen that way. And engineers must understand that they are number one public servant, not like what I say government servant or legal public servant, but they serve people directly for their lifelong arrangements. If you deliver some house for some family, it is for lifelong arrangements. We have to understand that way. It's not simply polite statement, it's factual statement. I never worry about policy, I never worry, but I worry about accuracy of works, because I made mistakes in my life. I had been insulted openly, and I know how works are done, and works are very difficult to an extent if we have to एक्सट्रैक्ट क्वालिटी। गुणवत्ता आराम से मिलती नहीं है, जिस तरह आदमी के गुण अच्छी तरह से बनते नहीं हैं। आदमी के गुण समय के हिसाब से, एक्सपीरियंस के हिसाब से बनते हैं। उसी प्रकार से हमारे पास क्वालिटी अचीव करने के लिए बहुत संघर्ष करना पड़ता है। अगर काम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आपका काम है, आप कीजिए तो शायद इतनी दिक्कत नहीं आएगी, क्योंकि आप ही काम कर रहे हैं, अपने आप मेटेरियल खरीद रहे हैं। लेकिन जहाँ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर आ जाता है वहाँ कमर्शियल थिंकिंग भी आ जाती है। कॉन्ट्रैक्टर आपका काम क्यों करेगा? प्रश्न ये उठता है। कॉन्ट्रैक्टर आपका काम तभी करेगा जब उसको कुछ प्रॉफिट होगा, उसको बैठ, और प्रॉफिट 2-4%, 5% नहीं सोचते वो लोग, तो 20%, 15%, 25% का प्रॉफिट सोचते हैं। वी हैव टू रियली be concerned about this fact. If I can work myself as an engineer, I think that is best alternative rather than awarding some work to contractor. And if I cannot do myself, there is no way left except to go for contracting. And when I go for contracting, I should not consider this word contractor in negative sense, because contractor is my colleague there. Contractor is my friend there, professional friend. We have working relations with them. We don't have, you can say, fighting relations, disputed relations, but these fighting and disputes do occur because of some misunderstanding, miscommunication, misinterpretation of provisions of contract. And contract means very, very powerful, very big documents, which is a component of, which is you can say creative of technical work, non-technical work, commercial work, contract work, and all documentation. We come in combination call them contract documentation, contract documents, and there are thousands and thousands of documents on major projects. And even if you take one house you construct, you must have all drawings like architectural, structural, services, layout plan, this drawing, that drawing, and you must have, you can say, bar bending schedule, you must have complete dimension and processes what you have to do, you must know about soil properties. You know, you should know everything, though it's one single house, but it is same engineering work which cannot be avoided. That's why we have to be very comfortable if you have all details. And civil engineering cannot be done rapidly. It has its own speed. Even if you use machines, it doesn't make much difference if quality is to be achieved. And when we talk of major projects, the dynamism of projects, or you can say mega projects, we have to deal with so much, and particularly civil engineering is also a prime field there in addition to all other fields. And I actually call whole plant as civil, or you can say engineering product. Maybe 5 or 6 engineerings are involved on every product: civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, IT engineering, or you can security engineering, or whatever else you can say. So much is involved that documentation becomes a knowledge source. When there are so many documents, so many sections, and there are probabilities that coordination might have missed, or you can say there must be different or clashing opinions within these documents, and those must be studied properly by every involved engineer and every person belonging to contracting company, because clashes cannot help you. You have to mutually read these documents along with all other requirements. Once you make mistake, you know what happens. If mistake is done, means material is lost, time of workers is lost, time of machine is lost, of course cost is lost, and it is loss, it is double loss. Say if you lose 10 rupees on construction, I'm just giving an example. If you lose 10 rupees work, this means how much profit you have lost. Think of that. Your 10 rupees means 10 rupees profit has gone, and 10 rupees profit comes only when you work for 100 rupees. Just keep in mind that if you do not do right work, you shall have to waste everything. And that is where I say we should be clear about what work we have to do, what quality element we have to achieve, and how it is to be done. It is very important point, and we cannot do. Yes, of course, when there are so many documents, so many provisions, so many conditions of contracts, which all have to work together, all have to do together. It's not simple work, it is combination of work, it's alliance of all disciplines. All alliances must work together. If these alliances do not work together, you can say there shall be short circuit, there shall be electrical fault in your work. Electrical fault doesn't mean that electrical fault means working fault, I mean to say. Connectivity won't be available, and even one absence of item can stop work. Once I was in Libya, and there was problem in those days. Material was not available, and generally I used to face shortage of everything. Once everything was ready on some site, but nails were not available. One part of nails were available, and when you just complain, when the question was raised why work is not done, have been done, we had to say nails were not available. They used to laugh. Only nails you're talking. Nails were not available. Work should be done. I could not understand what did they mean. How can you do work without nails in shuttering? It was 83, 84, 1983. What I'm saying, joke is one part, but requirement is another part. Even nails can stop your work. You have to be clear. Nail is so powerful in that case, it can puncture your feet also, your soul also. So it can puncture your soul. It can stop you from walking. Therefore, we have to be very serious. When contractor is employed, contractor shall of course look into its own interest. Certainly, it's commercial part of contracting. Of course, there is technical part, there is work part. Commercial money is obtained only when you work. And if contractor keeps in mind that it's not genuine, I should depend on profit only, I should play with project, I should play with contract conditions so that I can raise my claims, I can raise more money. If that point remains in mind of contractor, then it's very difficult to successfully run project. You cannot run that. And when inclination is bad, intention is bad, of course disputes occur, and those disputes are very costly, expensive. Even if time extension dispute is expensive, suppose a contractor says, I have wasted this time, I have to make claim on this reason, on this condition that you have to grant extension for 10 days. It happens. Because of this reason, because of that reason, whatever reasons could be. Forget whatever reasons, but a contractor has in mind that I want to raise, say, claim of 10 days or whatever, 10 months, depending on contract currency, and that claim is raised, but engineer doesn't justify that. It should be given because without approval of engineer and owner, claim of extension cannot be accepted, and where finance is involved, that cannot be accepted. 10 days because you are going to save your LD of 10 days, liquidate damages of 10 days. That is in your mind. That is contractor mind. And engineer doesn't accept that. Engineer says, no, you did not waste anything. It happens, for example, I say, oh, there have 3 days rain and I could not work, therefore give me 3-day extension. Clearly speaking, it looks justified, but it's not justified according to contract conditions. In contract conditions, it's clear that if you are an experienced person in that area, or you must have some information about that area, or if you can't have information about that area, you must know in last couple of decades, say 40, 30, 40 years, 50 years, what was conditions of weather. You must have that knowledge, that in summer this happens, in winter this happens, in rain this happens, which rain period, which is this period. So you should know that rain happens, it's not controlled by human being. It's natural, and you must keep that option in mind, that provision in mind. That I would waste so many days on this project because of rain. Because in rain it's not possible to do external work. Internal work can be done. Of course, you can say when your slab has been, and you can do walling work, you can do flooring work, that can be done. But as far as structure is concerned, that cannot be done. So if you every time keep on writing to engineer, see there are 4 days rain, for 1 week rain, I could not do, please grant extension. You think engineer shall give this? Never. Because you are inexperienced, and if engineer is experienced, or if engineer may not be experienced, then it's a problem. Because plainly speaking, so yes, how could that person work if it was rain? It's not possible, it's common sense. But it's not contextual sense, that's the point here. Common sense and contract sense are different. Contractor sense goes to conditions. Whatever conditions are there, whatever conditions do exist, those conditions are valuable, and we have to comply with those conditions. We cannot contravene those conditions as far as links are concerned, as far as mutual explanation is concerned. One condition weighs over other one. One condition is priority than another one. We have to take those points into our valuable work understanding, and that understanding is really required by engineers, And as you move in engineering from one day, from 1 year to year, next year, third year, and of course depending on your nature of work, you may get chances, you can say opportunity to know more. When disputes happen, these are means not pleasant, of course, these are unpleasant. No contractor wants to create disputes, but when contractor loses something, certainly that contracting company shall like to be balance that one, or to get some more returns other than lump sum amount. I'm talking of lump sum fixed price contract amount that can be construction contract or it can be EPC contract, engineering, procurement and construction contract. These contracts are very powerful. In fact, this kind of a charter, this kind of great charter, you can say, long documents, general conditions, particular conditions, contract drawings, contract specifications, and so much you can say. Maybe here we do not value it, but in fact this is professionalism. This is a work of profession. You have to prepare contract documents, which means you have to do a lot of work, and particularly in lump sum projects, you have to compute all items before once design is done. And design itself is very long because you have to do design from working point of view and not from only research point of view. Working point of view is always elaborated. When you do design work, you must keep in mind that this work is to be done on site, and site person has to tackle this. And that site person must understand his drawings and your sections and details, elevations, everything. I should not name it, but whatever details you provide on contract details, contract designs, these must be workable, not simply watchable, not simply readable. These must be well coordinated to maximum extent. All services must well be incorporated correctly, so that it be easy for those people who work on shop drawing and working drawing. They should not waste time. Technical provisions are very important, and there are many sources that technical provisions are drawn. It's not simply technical provisions, it is experience based provisions. Technical provisions can be written somewhere, but experience cannot be written. There's no habit within engineers who write their experiences, particularly in civil engineering. I have not seen any such reference book or resource book or resource which tells me how you work on site. Of course, as far as arbitration is concerned, as far as contracts are concerned, you will find many references on internet. You can find many references somewhere, because those are resources, related resources. Those are documents already available. Those can be produced, and those can be read references. Those can be, you can say, consider references by engineers. But engineers very rarely take interest in these. Hardly 2 or 3% engineers may be available who want to go through contract world, or what they think that it is law world, it's not my world. And that misconception demolishes, you can say, contract world, engineering contract world. In our country, Bharat, India, I don't find interested people who have real conception of contracts and engineering. And because engineering and contract both are linked, contract is nothing but a part of engineering. Of course, our language is little different than technical language because of it is required in disputes. So language is not important. Important is composition of contract. Contract can be written in your language also. It doesn't make a difference, but I have seen people of other countries who are very smart in contracts. I have dealt with many chartered engineers from UK, from other countries, France, for others. They give very good details, and they know all analysis of contract. They understand contracts. It's because maybe they are interested, or they have some subject in their program which forces them to learn contracts. Our system also forces now to learn contracts, but in general, because engineers are habitual of analytical work, of design work, they do not take much interest in text business because documents are text business. Writing documents is very difficult, and writing skill of engineers in beginning of career, I don't think is mountable, is becoming, it's not that level becoming. So when disputes occur on whatever issue, first of all, in lump sum contracts, there are rare chances of disputes because price is fixed. Even if there is variation in quantity, whatever given in your design was worked out from your drawings, your details, and whatever is available by chance, if POQ is available, that has got no support. This cannot be used blindly. A quantity cannot be changed also until scope is changed. Quantities cannot be varied, and no other provisions are available in contracts where you can make such claims. So it's very difficult to raise disputes first of all until there is compulsion, there is something different. You may say disputes can happen in case of unknown events, or you can say exceptional events or force majeure events, which no one can know at time of bidding what would happen. And there are very few cases that you can raise claims except there's variation. It may be omission based variation or addition based variation. Variations are different and these are accepted. There can be whatever number of variations. But disputes otherwise are very difficult. Very difficult. There can be disputes on time, contract time, extension, there can be dispute. There can be disputes of the defects notification period. There can be disputes about something which could not be procured. Means very limited number of points are available where disputes do happen. So what should be done if disputes happen? Disputes happen because of many reasons. There can be dispute about not acceptance of your work. There can be dispute. Of course, it is also very rare because it is at site level. Whatever, suppose there is an error in work or there is some bad work done, there is no other way to solve it except to remove that bad work. No other way. And it depends on contractors, engineers, and also on employers, engineers, how they handle this. These people are experts in their field and they know what's good or what's bad. When disputes occur, if not in civil, in some other business, some other profession, how these disputes shall be organized to be resolved? That is called disputes resolution method. How to resolve dispute, because it is such a work you cannot go to court directly. When contracts contain provisions of arbitration, and it must be according to national provision, national requirement and international requirement, that without provision of alternate dispute resolution we cannot move one step. And when disputes occur, there is no other way except to resolve them, and that's why provision within arbitration, within your provision within contracts, that is arbitration reconciliation. Arbitration is a kind of alternative mechanism where general mechanism does not apply, or you can say where ordinary jurisdiction of law court does not apply. First application is arbitration, and nowadays before arbitration there is another provision, and that is dispute adjudication and avoidance board, and also before that is engineer. Engineer, as we defined, is not ordinary qualified engineer, but engineer who has been named or designated on contract. That person has to resolve disputes, even though that person is employer or salaried person or you may say freelancer for for that employer, yet this person for purpose of dispute adjudication has no direct relation to employer. That relation which this person has, this engineer has with both parties is independence. Independence on contract, it may be supervision work or it may be design work, it may be such as health work. Everywhere it is not dependent on employer's power, because engineer means a person to represent that employer engineering wise and not otherwise. So arbitration or a process of arbitration is meant for resolving available or possible or expected disputes. No contract of construction or contract of design and construction is complete without having provision such as dispute resolution mechanism, which can define also and which must define also which institution shall be used for this purpose of dispute resolution, or who shall be competent for this, what shall be competence for this dispute resolution. Very similar point, and that point generated, you can say, arbitration mechanism. Though arbitration means authoritative, but here arbitrator means technical person who understand that field, who knows how work can be done. Everything cannot be done by escapism. There is no escapism but reality. And owner understands, engineer understands, and of course a distance from distance contractor too understands. But same contractor, when it comes closer to something, that person changes its interest. It happens. Arbitration is that part of mechanism where you need not go to court for filing your petition, but you can file your petition with arbitrators or institutions which are related to arbitrators. You can see that in list of arbitrators list and institutions list which handle your disputes mechanism. Arbitration Act is available, and if points arise, if even technical points arise, that's a question mark. Because it's not simply you have to pay to contractors, you have to make sure that technicalities do speak. Okay, you have signed your agreement, you cannot change it now, but technical documents are different. These can be referred to, and that's very important. When arbitration means you have to either go directly to arbitration after your compromise is not possible and you have thought of amicable solutions, you tried for that to solve disputes, but your trial is unsuccessful and your party does not come to you to help you. It's really, you can say, on contracts particularly, every solution depends on how we handle contract. Some people have understanding and some people don't have understanding. That's also true. You can inquire many engineers and see how many of them know what is contracting, what is output of contracting. Contracting includes arbitration, and arbitration includes your losses. Of course it is secret, document is confidential, but we can create another document to share with everyone else. When we talk of arbitration, we talk of Arbitration Act, which is this one you can see. I'm just referring to this, I'm not going to again read this. Only is that this arbitration is statutory. It's not, just a provision, it's a statute. This Arbitration Act 1996, which is an amendment to 1940 Act, which was not that powerful. This Act 1996, along with its amendment 2015, 2018 and 2020, along with these three amendments, statutory amendments, Act of Arbitration has become powerful and reliable, and it can work with other acts also, and we have to see such results. Arbitration is confidential because of various reasons, because of details, and because of, you can say, contract specifications, conditions. You cannot disclose facts about contract to everyone except where it's required. We cannot simply depend on documents. We must have implication of such documents. We must have read those documents, and everybody has no skill to apply how to study this document. If we don't study properly, we cannot understand where do we stand. Arbitration is a mechanism, and we say Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Conciliation is always better than arbitration, and conciliation always is again better than, teaching, because you had written something, you had recorded something, or you assessed something, and now time has come that we should review that point. That is very great way. It's not simply that writing is enough, understanding of writing is enough, presentation is enough, and link to your explanation is very important. Nothing is left which is not important. Arbitration is a long mechanism. It requires paperwork, it requires references. You cannot allow someone just to intervene in your contract or in your dispute except it is a reliable source. Really speaking, arbitration is a mechanism, it is true. There can be one arbitrator or there can be three arbitrators, usually three if it's mega project, and three or one. This quantum of persons really works. We have to be little authoritative on this. Work does not listen to anyone. It depends that how we are. Arbitration means you have to first provide notice to your employer, or employer if has to go to arbitration, that employer has to provide notice to contractor. Both can provide notices, because that is not challengeable notice but informative, that we are going to concern with your impact. We have to consider that employer and contractor both have equal rights to go to arbitration. There is no bar to anyone. We have to first try to solve dispute on our own level, and that is called amicable process, amicable solution. And if amicable solution does not work, we have to try through correspondence, communication. We have to talk to that person, and that person has to talk to us, and nothing can happen beyond that. Once conciliation fails, once amicable settlement process fails, then you can resort to arbitration. But remember, arbitration is a difficult word for construction, and arbitration have to look into what is not required, it's not essential. Arbitration is a route to solve your problem to avoid judiciary, and arbitration itself is equivalent to judiciary these days, because award published or signed by arbitrator is itself a question. I would not say that you cannot understand arbitration, because it really happens. It happens on many big projects where you have to learn conditions of contract also. There are so many sections I talked of in this, but these sections are for purpose of arbitrations and not for something else. Who shall appoint, how shall appoint? This must be prescribed in contract. What should be qualification of arbitrators? Is it necessary, or we can solve it without wasting time? Because if you go to arbitration, you have to spend money, of course, both parties. And if you don't get any benefit, then there's no meaning of spending that money. Both are possible points, possible references. It's really very common that I have not seen many arbitration cases from civil, because first of all, lack of information, then record is very bad. If you go and see site records, you won't find any record, and somebody will say already the system is on server and you can get it, take this password. This happens, but that too has failed. हमको सोचना चाहिए ना कि हमें काम कराना है, तो झगड़े तो होंगे। बड़े बड़े काम, बड़ी बड़ी पोजीशंस, बड़े बड़े मटेरियल, बड़ी बड़ी क्वांटिटीज़, कहीं भी गलती हो सकती है। टेक्निकल मिस्टेक तो बहुत होती हैं, उनको वो ठीक भी किया जाता है। टेक्निकल काम है, मिस्टेक भी होंगी, सही भी होगा, अच्छा भी होगा, सब कुछ होगा, लेकिन समझ के करेंगे तो गलत नहीं होगा, सही होगा। आर्बिट्रेशन में जाएं उससे पहले हमको सुपरविज़न भी समझ आना चाहिए। आखिर सुपरविज़न है क्या, बहुत ज़रूरी। सुपरविज़न आखिर क्या है? ये सुपरविज़न क्या चीज़ है? ये सुपरविज़न करना कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के काम को हमारी कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग वर्ल्ड में उसे सुपरविज़न कहा जाता है। सुपरवाइजिंग कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्क मीन्स यू सुपरवाइज ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ इंजीनियर and you check all stages of activities. Supervision is done, and supervision has also some quality system which should operate. ISO 9001:2015, which is quality structure of system, I have devised for supervision, and that is supervising management, RCC buildings, construction. What is that? We think that we are responsible for this activity. Who is responsible? We have to find that person if it is not indicated in our contract conditions, or something is indicated, then we have to abide by that. Quality system we understand very well. We have discussed about construction, we have discussed about EPC. On quality, we talked of contract also. Now we are talking of quality system technology, how it works. Let us take example of RC buildings, reinforced concrete buildings, contracts. And that's where construction is involved. I repeat, an organization adopts a management system, or you can say organizing management system. Architect effect total system management or system organization management, RCC buildings construction. It's an organization adopts the management system to take care of comfortably achieving its objectives, set objectives, which being in this case supervising organization management, or in brief you can supervising management, that is RCC building construction. That also applies. Management system comprises various sets of procedures for charting out and implementation various operations or activities so as to successfully reach its intended objectives, which lead to enhanced use of resources, improvement on risk management, and increased customer satisfaction by meeting product or services expectations. In this case, product is supervising management RCC buildings. Organizations do work on various management systems, say quality management, environment management, safety management, etc. etc. All systems apply in this case directly as well as indirectly. There were different numbers, different systems in past, but since 2015, a uniformity has been created, a template has been created which has to be used by every system so that weight of undue work is avoided. AnnexSL being a high level system which has produced a common platform, so that all systems that organization adopts, whatever system can be drawn based on this structure AnnexSL. Such arrangement provides many commonalities in designing system, implementation, monitoring, evaluation and improvement by trying to eliminate conflicts that existed within 2015 affiliated system. Various stages related supervising management of RCC building construction can be covered within this template successfully. All management systems shall have single high level identical core text which common terms and definitions which can be defined within AnnexSL. High level structure cannot be changed. Of course, structure cannot be changed, but discipline oriented specifics of clauses can be both added or omitted or changed. As such, additions may be made where per country claimed. AnnexSL applies to all management system standards, publicly available specifications and technical specifications as well as customized requirements. Whatever involved in 14,001 and 45,001 shall be all based on AnnexSL. High level structure were related to in this case through not included here. AnnexSL supervised management construction says this annex template shown below, for example, for reference, is only for indicative guidance to apprise engineer how new system adopted by ISO effective September 2015 work to produce organizational prime work to produce we can say what we say. We have to discuss this template, which is very easy. The work to produce organizational prime quality document which shall govern whole organization quality process, quality document required by business, adding accountability shareable by business and technocrat leaders. Wherever and whatever requirements demand, items can be added as sub clauses, but no deletion can be made. Purpose of this template is just to project quality track demanded by ISO 9001 2015 system, which is a mandate published by ISO, and without which application all existing registered certifications shall stand invalid. These have been invalid already since 2015, so 6 years back. Therefore, this adoption of SL must for new quality system operating globally. Now here's format we start with. AnnexSL supervising management RCC building construction. You know there are 10 clauses in this, and here are 10 clauses: scope, normative references. Scope is clause 1 and normative references is clause 3. Same way you can say terms and definitions clause 3, and text of organization is clause 4, context of organization. Then there is, after long pages, there is clause 5, that is leadership, clause 5, and then clause 6 is planning. Clause 6 is planning, and after that we have clause 7, that is support, and there is clause 8, that is operation. And there's performance evaluation, that's clause 9, how did you perform, and of course then it's improvement in clause 10. Improvements. Improvement is class 10. And after that, we have certain documents which are necessary to support this system. And we declare these documents. Minimum means there is only for reference. And these are supervising service contract, main contract. Supervising service contract is different. It's nothing to do with contractor. This is a contract that exists between employer and consultant or employer supervising engineer. Main contract is for contractors between employer and contractor, then subcontracts between main contract and vendors. You mean to say work vendors. Then contracts organization chart, supervising management, organization chart, then supervising management quality policy, contract scope, of course contract objective description, contractor's quality policy, contractor's project site plan, contractor's safety plan, contractor's quality plan, organizational targets, organizational commitment policy, process designation descriptions, and job descriptions of each position, all statutory references, all codal references if involved, and procedural statements, and all other required documents depending on operations. Our template and start conferring on that. This is first is scope. What is this? What it says. It says it includes intended outcome of system, management system, organization management system. It is intended outcome of their system. In this scope, we can say that is to be included with the next SL template. Supervising management. Supervising management. I'm feeling cold in legs, so I put some blanket on my leg. It's of course cold in the morning and difficult to digest this cold, so I put what to do. Cold is cold. My legs has a problem, so I have to protect that also. So it says intended outcome of management system, which are industry specific and should be aligned with class 4, that is context of organization. Supervising management. Supervising, I close this file of arbitration for time being because why to hold it for nothing. So supervising management, RCC building, construction from commencement to completion stage, that is our objective, you can say. This is what our, you can say, outcome is, that we have to supervise project, we have to supervise building project, and from its commencement to its completion stage. Then we have to construction. We have construction prosecuted by owner, appointed contracting organization, including subcontractors. This is, of course, to achieve one, we have to work on two, and construction prosecution by owner, appointed contractor, through subcontractor directly, and also then next is delivery of design and specification wise compliant. Delivery of design and specification wise compliant completed building under certification of completion per contract documents and regulations. Delivery of design and specification wise complied completed building under certification of completion per contract documents and regulations. What does it mean? What does it mean actually? Now, this is very brief description of this scope. In fact, in plain language, what is scope of this requirement? It applies to every contract. Because if you don't employ some skilled person, you would simply say that we are not interested in this. What to do? We have, if I'm an engineer, some honor appoints me to design and supervise works. Okay, leave design aside. We are talking of supervision. Supervision means it's a big construction technology. You can say technology about construction technology to make sure that whatever is given in a specification certainly for sure being affected. It should be affected. This means I am an engineer, I am appointed through some whatever source you can say, it doesn't matter. Essentially, we have to see that whatever work is done by a person on site what work is done on site. We have to take care of that. Contractor shall work on site and we have to control contractors. That is what is required. Of course, there are methods in contracts, but everything is not defined. Some prescriptions may be there, some guide may be there, but because contractor exists and it is understood that contractor got no interest in this, if there is a case, whatever activity is done on site by contractor, whatever, that is direct responsibility part of contract. From survey onwards, from site takeover onwards, up to total completion, up to total handover, or you can say up to taking this delivery at commencement or commissioning time, gap between site allowance and site takeover, and then site of completion. Three gaps are available, three bridges work, and you can say it's a long distance. Even supervision team has to travel. Supervision team I am saying because engineer though defined is defined in commercial language, in technical language, in contextual language, but practically it is different. As I said earlier, engineer has to take responsibility of supervising works of contractor. Engineer is primarily responsible. And if there is a delegate of engineer or deputy of engineer, that is called deputy engineer, which is the lower one in fraction process. If engineer sleeps on supervision, I don't think that it is a sales item. Yes. Supervision means we have to supervise each and every work done on site. Even if it is not recorded, every point cannot be recorded, but something can be recorded for which your site diary is important. Some conditions says about these items. Whatever work is done for procurement, whatever work is done for engineering, whatever work is done for safety, whatever work is done for quality, whatever work is done for planning, and whatever work is done for valuation. Every work, every possibility, every discipline, all these have right. Every act on Red Book, well, let's say reference of Red Book, must be crystal clear to every professional. Why are they not? Lifeline of building depends on excellent supervision. If contractor and supervisor do not work in alliance, professional alliance, work cannot be completed smoothly. Construction means something, again I say, long term durability. Once some item has been done on site, it has been done forever. But concrete has been done on site means it sets and is permanent. We cannot remove that except until there is utmost need. We cannot extinguish that. Whatever submittals are made by contractors, material submittals, drawing submittals, or some other alternative, it is duty of contractors recorded in the file. Whatever work is done, it should be according to prescribed requirements under documents, and these documents are contractor's documents and engineer's document. Both are approved. All specifications and all drawings and other details is actually a work of engineer, and engineer is indirectly responsible to supervise what is done. But engineer does not sit on site, that's also true, because engineer is a game changer and large scale approach. Keep in mind that Next point is normative references. Details of reference standards or publications relevant to particular standard. Which which template is also very important, and what is includes is defined terms of regulation. Normative references means, let us see which are those documents, which are norms of this contract or whatever contract we have. Service contract between supervising manager and consultant or owner. That is the important document in normative references for this case of supervising contract, supervising organization. वेरी वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट, बहुत बहुत मजबूती से समझना होगा आपको. हमने स्कोप को समझा पहले कि एक तरह का स्कोप क्या है. स्कोप आपको समझ आ गया होगा कि जो भी काम कराना है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के ऊपर, जो काम चल रहा है ठेकेदार का, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का, उस पर अपनी प्रोग्नोस क्यों करनी है. Supervising management versus building construction, we are talking about in scope, and this scope is to be realized by contractors, and engineer's representative has to supervise it in every respect. काम करना है ठेकेदार ने और उसका निरीक्षण करना है इंजीनियर है उसके आदमी ने, उसके रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ने, उसके प्रतिनिधि ने, और वो करना उस हिसाब से जैसे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डॉक्यूमेंट में दिया हुआ है, जैसा ड्राइंग्स में दिया हुआ है, जैसा स्पेसिफिकेशंस में दिया हुआ है, और जैसा होना चाहिए वैसा ही करना है. बिल्डिंग कंप्लीट होने के बाद डिलीवरी देनी जरूरी है, कोई डांट नहीं, कोई दूसरी बात नहीं. सुपरविजन का मतलब सब कुछ देखो सही तरह से हो रहा है या नहीं. नहीं हो रहा तो क्यों नहीं हो रहा. दूसरा है नॉर्मेटिव रेफरेंसेस. कौन कौन से रेफरेंस हमको चाहिए उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को चलाने में, जो मैनेजमेंट सर्विस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है या सर्विस को मैनेज करने के लिए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, कुछ भी कह लीजिए. कौन से सर्विसेज इंजीनियर द्वारा दी गई सर्विसेज, उनको कैसे मैनेज किया जाए. खर्चे होते हैं. says service contract between supervising manager and consultant or consultant and owner. ये जो करार है ये ठेकेदार का नहीं है, ये करार एम्प्लॉयर और इंजीनियर के बीच में है. उन्होंने फैसला किया है कि इस करार में इस इंजीनियर को रखेंगे, और जो भी उस एरिया की कंडीशंस हैं, लॉ है, ऑनर और कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के बीच का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी रेफरेंस में आता है, डायरेक्ट नहीं डायरेक्ट काम करने के लिए. एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डॉक्यूमेंट, इस कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के कौन से डॉक्यूमेंट्स जो ओरिजिनल हैं, प्रोजेक्ट का स्केड्यूल क्या है, डिज़ाइंस ऑल डिसिप्लिन्स, एंड यू कैन से all working on shop drawings, all disciplines, all other contractual documents, all specifications within contract, all testing references, all as-built drawings and as-built documents. ये सारे सारे डायरेक्ट रेफरेंसेस हैं। फिर सपोर्टिंग रेफरेंसेस हैं जिनका हेल्प लिया जाएगा। उसमें यूरो कोड्स हैं, ACI, IS, and there are various other national annexes and NDFs and PDs, published documents, and nationally defined nationally defined parameters. You can say European series of codes, that is basis of designs, actions by fire, actions by snow, action by wind, action by thermo energy, then action by execution, action by accidents, design concrete structural fire. उसके बाद कह सकते हैं आप BS NAEN ACI 318 IS code 456/2000 NBC 2005 or updated one, building bylaws related to area of site. इतने सारे references, you have to see so many references of this, references, this normative references we call them. These are important one from clarity viewpoint. And if you don't have clarity, that is a question mark. Why we have? Then how can we supervise successfully? These norms clearly reflect, clearly present, clearly confirm that there's someone on site who is very experienced, whose reference should be taken out. Supervising manager. Who is this? Supervising manager. Is it engineer or is it someone else? Contractually speaking, it is engineer. Engineer who is defined in contract. This engineer has, of course, experience, greater, technical experience this engineer should have. And if his engineer is not directly available on site, then a representative of that engineer who is named engineer's representative or also resident engineer. Resident engineer, we can say, who is manager of site. From another document, it exists between employer and engineer. That document is very significant. So, who is representative on site? It is resident engineer. We have read about resident engineer last time. What is resident engineer? You can say resident engineer is a kind of authority, a क्षेत्र we are talking of references. Then we can say what is resident engineer, what is power of resident engineer, and what is difference between engineer and resident engineer. These points we have to clearly comprehend, apprehend. Only then we can understand what is difference, what is purpose, who is what is he. It's voluminous exercise we have to deal with, and of course we have to deal with hundreds items on site. And if we expect that if engineer is a busy person, I'm not talking here about government engineers. Resident engineer represents engineer. It's not original engineer. Engineer is original. Engineer is responsible for supervising contract. That contract exists between engineering company or engineer and employer. Employer holds that engineer responsible from each and every viewpoint of organizational management of supervision. You may call it consultant also. Can be called, doesn't matter. फर्क नहीं पड़ता उससे. This means there is a service contract provided by these two people, by these two parties, for their parties. And we can say service contract by and between supervising manager or supervising engineer and resident engineers. We have to understand this thoroughly, very clearly, and we can go further in this. Engineer has total responsibility of supervision. If he is a part of design also, design responsibility. Engineer has a responsibility of drawing designs, drawing specifications, drawing contract conditions, and drawing whatever is required which children will buy. Everybody has a responsibility, and site responsibility goes to resident engineer, of course on delegated method. You can say it's an open war. Supervision is a very important task. Design is also much more important than supervision, but supervision is a continuous process which cannot be ignored even for a single day. And supervision person or supervising person is dedicated one. Dedicated in a sense that one has to stay at site along with its complete team to supervise not only civil but also all other disciplines. Responsibility of resident engineer is voluminous, you can say. Voluminous depending on size of project, or you can say cost of project. It cannot be taken for granted. Never, never, never. Whatever work is done on site by contractor, that work is required to open on site in shop. When something is affected by contractor on site, supervision team is jointly responsible, not legally but morally, you can say. practice wise. You cannot prosecute, but account is created and supervision party is paid in terms of either remuneration or in terms of fees. When you pay something to someone, that person must do that job for you. It's very much established principle. Owner and contractor have one relation. We understand very clearly. Owner and contractor. I will just be back in a couple of minutes before something. So before that I go, I would say resident engineer, or we call in short RE, or engineers representative, we call by ER. ER is actually engineers representative, and by misunderstanding in our country Bharat India, people use ER as engineer. Well, there's some notation I am just trying to say. Job of resident engineer is to supervise and to support, administer how contract is affected. Administer or administration of construction contractors. I mean administration of construction contract. Job of supervising engineer is to administer what is required of construction contract that exists between employer and contractor. That administration of contract is required to be done by engineers through resident engineer, and that is so important point that every engineer should know it. Each work that is done, each activity that is done by contractor on construction contract, construction project, must be either surveillance by these engineers or keep this in mind. No work should be done without knowledge, acquaintance and approval of or surveillance of resident engineers. This is requirement, even though it may not be recorded in a formal way, but either resident engineer or it's either of senior personnel like senior engineers or inspectors, or you may call clerk of works. They all must know that this work has been done and it was supervised. And if it is required, actions can be entered in diary, site diary, or whatever name we give on job progress, job progress formulate we can use now. This point is very important one. Concrete is done, of course it is recorded. Form work is recorded, steel inspection is recorded, electrical work is recorded, all the services are recorded. And of course, pouring is recorded, temperature is recorded, slump is recorded, tests are recorded. Everything has a register on supervision. we have to understand what are these references. Once we understand these references, then we can say this is scope of construction. Even if resident engineer does supervision, but resident engineer does not own any legal responsibility on that work. Approval by resident engineer means approval by engineer, but engineer has got reservations to reject that as well. That is meaning of the supervision. Engineer can overrule approval granted by resident engineers, and this may be very different consideration. Even if work is closed, even if item is closed, it is hidden item, for example, foundations, can be checked, can be rechecked, re-examined. There are so much in that. Now we talk of service contract. What is that? We'll take up this also in our contract system. White book. I'll see how it works. How does it happen? That must work. What is service contract? How does it operate? That point we have to take into our consideration. Service contract that exists between engineer and owner. It is a parallel contract with Red Book. One contract is Red Book based, that is FIDIC Red Book, employer and contractor construction contract. And this is another book that exists between engineer and, or you can say, employer and engineer, where employer is first party and also engineer is second party. And on this contract, other engineers of supervision are included. This contract is service contract because this is supervising service or management service, and duration is more than the construction contract duration, or maybe at least equal to that. There will be many conditions, and that also will look into liability, responsibility, how to do, what is the responsibility of engineer, and how engineer is related to contractor, how engineer relates to owner, and that is triangular relation between you can say owner, contractor and engineer. This relationship we have to understand clearly. कौन सा रिश्ता है ये तीनों का, इसमें प्रोजेक्ट का मालिक ऑनर, इसमें कॉन्ट्रैक्टर और उसमें इंजीनियर कहाँ कैसे फिट बैठते हैं, ये देखने वाली बात है. ऑनर का और कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का क्या कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर की क्या ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है और क्या स्केड्यूल है, ये सब बातें, और डिज़ाइंस क्या हैं और बाकी चीज़ें क्या हैं, ये सब बातें एक बहुत बड़ा कोऑर्डिनेशन बन जाती हैं. दिस ऑटोमेटिकली बिकम्स कोऑर्डिनेशंस, and we have to get that point also there. I go for 5 minutes and come back. Meanwhile, we can just, in that case, I go for 5 minutes if you don't mind. If it continues, I continue. Oh, it's gone already. No, it's still there. So I was talking about references, normative references, and we discussed within that we discussed about service contract between supervising manager and consultant, and this service contract is very important. And what this service contract could be, that we have to realize facts. These facts are of course very important. We have to understand those points very well, and if we cannot understand those points very well, we miss a lot, you can say. We miss a lot, and we should understand that very clearly, how this affects us. Not easy sometimes, of course, we can say, not easy sometimes, but not difficult as well. As I usually say, in management so much is required, and engineers sometimes do not realize that fact. It's not, you can say, it's something. I'm talking of books, and these books are, we may say, we are talking of contracts here, and it is, I'm just trying to find where that lies in, and it is, it should be somewhere. It's 9001. It is. I'm not talking of 500. FIDIC I'm looking for actually. FIDIC. It should be AnnexSL. FIDIC White 2000. So let us see to some. It doesn't matter. Just for information. It is. So let's say that way. If it's just for information, later on we'll concentrate on this. And this is, you can say, client and consultant, and that is model service agreement. Model service agreement, and that is, FIDIC, model service agreement, and FIDIC was founded in 1923. Leave it aside, and we can see that what is there in that. It is, if you see general conditions, that is definitions and interpretations. Then we see obligations, considers the scope of services, normal, additional and exceptional services, and duty of care and exercise of authority, client's property, then information, decision, assistance, equipment and facilities, client's personal, services of others, supply of personnel, representatives, changes in personnel, and liability between parties, liability of consultant, liability of client, compensation, duration of liability, limit of compensation and indemnity, limit of compensation, indemnity exceptions, insurance for liability and indemnity, insurance of client's property, agreement effective, commencement and completion, variations, further proposals, delays, changed circumstances, abandonment, suspension or termination, by notice of client, by notice of consultant, exceptional services, rights and liabilities of parties, payment to consultant, time for payment, currency of payment, third party charges on consultant, disputed invoices, and then independent audit, languages and law, changes in legislation, assignment and subcontracts, copyright, conflict of interest, corruption and fraud, notices, publication, amicable dispute resolution, attempt to resolve, referral to mediator, appointment of mediator, agreement of program, written agreement to be binding, non-binding options, costs of mediation, failure of mediation, arbitration, and in particular conditions, a reference from clauses in general conditions, additional clauses, appendices, scope of services, personal, equipment, facilities and services of others, to be provided by client, remuneration and payment. An agreement is there, format, then there is agreement is means we'll discuss this later on also, but definitions and interpretations, and that is what is project, what is services. You can see project is as defined, but services to be performed by consultant in accordance with the agreement and comprise normal services, additional services and exceptional services. Works client, consultant, parties agreement, day, month, local, etc. etc. An obligation of consultant, what are obligations? You can say client's property, and you can say whatever is this will go in this. What is personnel who are sent by consultant to work in country of project shall have been physically examined and found fit for their assignments, and their qualifications shall be acceptable to client. And of course, this is, then say all these conditions we have to go one by one to understand better relations between client and engineer or consultant. You can say payment, likewise all these we'll do this in continuation to FedEx. This is a FedEx document, and here you can say that particular conditions are different here. Additional clauses, appendix is here, and you can say white book it is. We can see that. So we have some material here that we have to discuss with. Model services agreement. This is between client and consultant, and it's really important one to understand how it works. Terms and client consultant model service agreement, white book, and this is white book as I said. So it shall be taken care of in due time. I close it for time being. So we come back to our own talk. You know, these services that engineer has to provide to client are clearly defined in that white book. But gross service that we are talking here is that services that supervision is important, where approvals are important, work quality is important, quantum of work is important, time is important, and cooperation is important. What I understand that, because both contracts, red and white, both work together. Both contract functions together on that project. Construction goes on, means red book works, and when construction goes on, supervision also goes on. This means white book works. Red book and white book both work simultaneously. This means quality, production are involved. Honor is involved on both contract. Contractor is involved on one contract and coordination of contract is involved on another contract. That is between employer and consultant. So there is a bifurcation of contracts, but work is not bifurcated. Contracts are bifurcated, law is bifurcated. But work is same, site is same. You can say that practically it is a combination of red book and white book. Or you may say also silver book and white book both apply together. If it is EPC, it is silver book and white book. Contractors organization and employers organization, and you can say consultants or engineers organization. They are three organizations work together for same project but on different contracts. Project schedule, which is also unique, always works on both contracts, because both parties agree. And engineer is a mediator, engineer is supplier, engineer is a checker, engineer is examiner, engineer is a controller, engineer is a pusher on that schedule, and designs, of course, for work. And then working designs, other contract documents we had to take care of. This is all specifications, testing, as built, closing, materials, all that. These all come into picture. Then we say terms and conditions, terms and definitions. Another part of contract which is very significant and that cannot be taken in isolation. Terms and definitions includes what? Daily, there is a detailed terms and definitions applicable to particulars. You can say certain references which are created one according to procedures or which are mandatory according to requirement, and which are procedural and quality based according to procedures, and these can be combined together. For example, we can say daily progress report or status. This is regular reference. This cannot be stopped, and this is something working record. We can call it diary, we can call it daily progress, or we can call it job record, we can call it whatever. It is created one, it is reported one. That is DPR, daily progress report or status of everyday achievement. Then there are memorandums to contractor, memorandums to contractors written by on behalf of owner, written by resident engineer or engineer. These are memorandums, and we can see that these are informative, having very low profile legal basis, but informative, or you can say procedural. These cannot be called claimable documents, but for, you can say, information and reporting, or for attention drawing, or for likewise awareness. Otherwise you may miss something or we can say these are protective documents or prevention documents, and these are generally supportive, you can say. Then there are technical clarifications without which work can be held. So technical clarifications are very important because of certain mix-up, certain confusion, adopted different approach in different documents. So we can say there can be mistakes, but technical mistakes are very expensive, sometimes not even affordable. So technical clarification means it is in-depth coordination. So many technical clarification means good coordination. Technical clarifications indicate that contractor is smart, contracting staff is smart, or coordination engineer is smart, or you can say office engineering is smart, whatever you can say. And of course, engineering clarification, which are design based, which are engineering policy based, both having different route. Technical clarification can be called site technical queries, while engineering clarification is generally related to designs. Site technical clarifications can be cleared on site because these do not impact on designs, these impact only on connections to various details, whereas engineering qualification or clarification has certain relations to designs, then it goes in many cases to designers. Technical clarification can be called site technical query or STQ, and this is called EQ, engineering, or EC, or whatever you can say, EQ. Contractual clarification is something very different, where there is, though it cannot, nothing can be done in that, but contractual clarification can impact a lot. If there appears to be some error in contract documents, it must be clarified before contract is signed. But in case it does not happen, if something is left, then it depends on maturity of both parties, whether on white or on red. In interest of contract, there should be some expediency on clarifying this or getting rid of that. Then you can say request for inspection general items and request for inspection of concrete pours. General items are many times more than concrete pours, and inspections of general items, of course it is serious, but inspections for concrete pours are very serious issue, because general items can be even used under surveillance. Majority of general items can be supervised under surveillance, and very few under written document. But for concrete pours, because it's lengthy inspection, it's not minute or second based inspection, so many inspections are involved on concrete, and so many days are sometimes taken up by you can say supervision and its inspection. And also non-compliance report, which is very dangerous document for contractor. NCR, usually we call it non-compliance or also non-conformance, which is a, can say, an obstruction to work progress if it is raised, because it declares that something has been done in non-conformance of quality requirement. It's quality document in fact. This documents tells that you have gone against you have gone against quality requirement, you have gone against specification requirement, and you have to do it again, or you have to improve it, or you have to remedy it, give procedure of that. So it's very complicated and it should be avoided during work itself. Non-conformance should be avoided, and if it cannot be avoided, it's very expensive and time consuming, and it's loss on both ends, means you have to spend money as well as you have to spend time, and then you have to recover time as well, means it's a really complicated one. And non-compliance means you cannot do further activity on that item which is under non-compliance report or non-conformance report. Material approval request is very procedural. It is in initial stages of project. It is done. All materials which are going to be permanently involved, permanently included on project, must be approved prior to procurement. And same applies to drawings approval request. This may be shop working drawings, or this may be working drawings of services, particularly if not structural. In services, whatever services are to be provided on project, all drawings should be produced from available schematic drawings, or you can say principal drawings, policy drawings of services. And also temporary works, preparatory works, permanent works. I have explained difference of these many times, and in one sentence I can say temporary works means works which will be withdrawn after function is over. For example, scaffolding or stair or steps on site or railing on site, all temporary works. And you can supporting system. And preparatory works means which lead to permanent work. Example is form work. Example is, you can say, reinforcement fixing. Example is electrical conduits fixing in slab. Examples of blockouts for HVAC or for plumbing. And likewise, you can say whatever work is required for doing permanent work, and for doing preparatory work, whatever work is required temporary. So these are all related. Construction method statements, which is very significant document. And it's not one document, there may be activity based documents, and there will be many documents depending on what type of project it is. On buildings there may be 50 to 100 documents, possibly 50 at least, method statements. And same way on major projects, mega projects like plants, facilities, there may be even 100 or more. Then these documents are very important for future. These are very important for creating certain kind of methods, or you can say certain kind of records in your company. This can be referred to in future, because this is a kind of technology, you can say, you adopt it. This may vary for new projects, but help can be taken for creating new document by doing editing work on that, or by referring to that and creating new one. Standard working designs or details, as we discussed, standard working designs are always available on many projects, and those should be repeated for ease of working. These drawings can be created and this can be repeated depending on where it's required, in various sections, various buildings, various, you can say, detailing, infrastructure. Same way, quality management statements, including checklists and ITPs. You all know that checklists and ITPs are very important forms. What to check that list? Everything cannot be checked, or what is listed there to be checked visually. It's not necessary that it should be tested. Check only what we have to go to site, what we have to look into, and of course ITP, which stands for inspection test plans. What inspections we have to do, what inspections, what items to be inspected by whom, and how many percentage to be inspected by seniors, and what is to be inspected by contractors quality person, and what is to be inspected by client quality person, and what should be percentage check on. Likewise, you can say it depends on your procedures, your quality system. Means it depends on, you have to not to waste time also due to that. And there should be various, there should not be many points of hold point should be minimum. And testing is of course very important. You have to test important items, you cannot go without that. Tests cannot be avoided, but every item cannot be tested. Important items are tested which impact on performance or service of project or item. And of course we have to see SHE or safety management documents, including safety induction, training, upkeep and surveillance, and fire prevention and suppression, and many more such references. Every reference cannot be included in this talk. It depends on what project it is and how strong is that. For LNG project can be different items, for ethylene project another items. Likewise, it depends on flyover what it is, or housing project what it is. We have to chart out accordingly. And then we have supporting references, for example, which we can say items are related, without which no reference can be complete. And these are in fact real references, practical working references, which keep project moving. And we have to keep a watch on these and to talk of these. In fact, this is excavation, soil testing on site, soil improvements, blinding, concrete protection, waterproofing below ground and above ground, cast in situ concrete, formwork, reinforcement fabrication, reinforcement placement, precast, pre-stressed concrete if included, concrete class, reinforcement grade, soil backfill, piping, concrete block walls, roofing, plastering, rendering, flooring, doors, windows, ironmongery, kitchen, wet areas, finishes, special items, testing and commissioning, design, estimated quantities, issued for information drawings, issued for building permit drawings, issued for construction drawings, revised drawing designs and national annexes, nationally determined parameters, and published documents, and all other necessary definitions. These are all very important one, because these actually produce your project. Construction project cannot be done without these, and therefore these are very important requirements, and we have to be serious about them. Serious in every sense. Serious in every sense, we have to be about them. And if you want to achieve quality that we say here, all these are required to be done. This quality file, which is an abstract of what we have to do, a warning to ourselves and warning to everyone. And that is where we can say we have to be very serious about. Sometimes something is good, sometimes something is relevant, sometimes it's not relevant. It depends on what's relevant, what's not relevant. We have to get that point. Civil engineering projects involve all these items directly. You can say all these items, whatever kind of civil engineering project it is, whatever kind, housing it may be, buildings it may be, plant infrastructure it may be. These may not be required in roads or in flyovers, but in where buildings are involved, where foundations are involved, where processing is involved, even small buildings are involved. All these items are very significant and cannot be just taken for granted. And there may be testing and commissioning, you can say. All these are very significant. We have to go to them to understand very well, and that is where you can say our works can rely upon. These items are, you can have a list, you can have a look on that. Give me 2 minutes time, you can read them back. रखा जा सकता है इसमें, रखा जा सकता है लाइट मस्ट है. We discuss these items, and these are very important items, we can say. We have to really understand these items in a in this context very clearly, understandably. And once we understand this, I think we will be in a position to give input to quality, because this is quality format AnnexSL, and it should be understood by designers also. It should be understood by consultants, it should be understood by contractors, and it should also be considered, it should be understood by those arbitration engineers. Arbitration is an engineering subject, and I'm trying to relate it because arbitrators in engineering field on engineering projects are arbitration engineers. They may be arbitration consultants, they may be arbitration counselors, or they may be arbitrators. It is completely technical in engineering field, and a person of ordinary experience, ordinary knowledge cannot be reliable, cannot be considered reliable on arbitration mechanism or dispute resolution mechanism. That is the reason that I tried to bring in white book also, because if contractor is responsible for these activities of quality, consultant or engineer is also responsible for forcing contractor to do this according to contract requirements, and that is very important part. Then we go to class 4, that is context of organization. As usual, we have understanding organization and its context, understanding needs and expectation of parties, determining scope of management system, and of course points of considerations are why organization is here, identify internal and external issues that impact intended outcome, interested parties and their requirements, define scope and set boundaries of management system, raise employees awareness and involvement, and we will take care of this later on, because I want to be slow in this so that everybody can understand what is required, what is fact. It's very important one, and I can start. Quality has been broken, and we have to reassemble an organization of quality which was practically available, but people have broken it. I don't know intention behind that. We have certificates, we have quality compliance certificates, but we have no quality. So we have to give a track to quality, and that track can be given only by engineering community. And in particular, first engineering community is civil. It's not first in the sense that it's top one or it is lead one. No, I'm not saying that. It's in a way that it starts others to come on that platform. If civil community does not work, other communities cannot arrive onto that project. So you can say civil engineer is a starter of other communities to take and come. It's something, a root engineering. Civil engineering is a rooted one, deep rooted one, because it goes into foundations, it goes into soil, it goes into as much depth as possible, and we can therefore say that there is no substitute of it. But because nature of work is as such that there is no question of what personality engineer has and what dressing sense workers have. It's different kind of sacrificial tendency, and of course you will find these engineers little rough in approach, in talking, in writing, Of course, because they are used to such environment where polish does not mean anything. Polish. So we have to be very realistic about this. We'll take, I'll try to get my views about contracts, about contract forms, about contract documents, about contract standards like FIDIC, about quality system like ISO 9001, 2015, because contract and its implementation or prosecution is a combination of all these. White book is under discussion, and we will also discuss yellow book. We have 4 books which are of direct understanding. We have to understand them. Red and silver are directly for civil engineers and others, and of course white book and yellow book, which cover your designs, machines, etc. And we will see how these work. So we must have a thorough understanding of contract requirements, contract structures, and also quality requirement and quality structures. And with these, we are clear of these, you can say, phenomenal structures of contracts. We can, in combination, and engineers having knowledge about these, and of course having certain knowledge of arbitration, we can check ourselves where we failed and we can improve that. Of course, it is not mathematics, we understand. It's not physical science. It is completely handling contracts in each and every respect. It is handling projects and various requirements, of course, do work. And it is therefore very important that we take some interest in this. Even if you are design engineers, you have relation to white book, you have relation to red book, you have relation to silver. Even if you are a designer, you are a coordinator, you are a constructor, or in whatever position you are, you must know how world moves. You must know how world moves, how does it work, and that is main point of concern. We have to, अगर हम इतना नहीं समझेंगे कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या है, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर क्या है, ऑनर क्या है, ये सारे फॉर्म्स फिडिक के क्या हैं, रेड बुक, सिल्वर बुक, वाइट बुक, येलो बुक, इन सब का क्या मतलब है, हम किस तरह से इनको समझ सकते हैं, किस तरह से आगे जा सकते हैं, ये बहुत बातें हैं तो हमको समझनी पड़ेगी। अपने व्यवसाय को, अपनी वृत्ति को अच्छा बनाने के लिए, अपनी इंजीनियर या अभियंता के एक ड्रेसिंग सेंस को, मेंटल ड्रेसिंग सेंस, कपड़ों की नहीं मैं बात कर रहा, हम कैसे अपने आप को प्रोजेक्ट करते हैं औरों के सामने, दुनिया के सामने, विश्व के सामने, क्लाइंट के सामने, अपने समाज के सामने, वो हमारे कर्तव्यों पे, हमारी पर्सनैलिटी पे, हमारी ईमानदारी पे, हमारी डिवोशन पे, हमारी डेडिकेशन पे निर्भर करता है। एक इमेज अगर ऐसी बना दी गई है कि ये इंजीनियर कुछ नहीं करते हैं या चोर हैं, कहते थे हैं लोग, क्या करेंगे आप, पब्लिक है। हमारी भी गलती है कि हमने अपने आप को ऐसा क्यों प्रयोग किया, गलती हमारी है, हमारी कम्युनिटी की है। तो जो इतनी गंद फैल जाती है तो हर एक को उससे हमको सुधार करना पड़ता है, और मैं उसी रास्ते पे हूँ कि क्वालिटी को वापस सही जगह लाना है जहाँ से वो उड़ के चली गई। हम जितना क्वालिटी से दूर होंगे उतना इंजीनियर के टाइटल से भी दूर होंगे, और उतने कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स को बिलीव नहीं करेंगे, और कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स भी हम पे बिलीव नहीं करेंगे, क्योंकि जब दो गलत होते हैं तो गलत होते हैं। लेकिन हम ये नहीं भूलना चाहिए कि मटेरियल हमारा है, टेक्नोलॉजी भी हमारी है, काम भी हमारा है, सेवा भी हमारी है, ऑनर भी हमारा है, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर भी हमारा है, कंसल्टेंट भी हमारा है, देश भी हमारा है, और प्रोफेशन भी हमारा है। क्या हम हमारे को तोड़ने देंगे? ये एक बात आती है। जो टूट गया उसको बनाना है। बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियां नाम की, धेले की नहीं काम की, मैं तो ये कह सकता हूँ। बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियां मैं देख रहा हूँ, प्राइवेट सेक्टर है, गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर है, जहाँ कोई क्वालिटी का नामो निशान नहीं है। खाली पीपी यूज़ करने से सेफ्टी का काम नहीं चल जाता है, उसी तरह से खाली बातें करने से क्वालिटी का काम नहीं चल जाता है। क्वालिटी क्वालिटी होती है, चाहे वो आपकी लाइफ में क्वालिटी हो, या आपके घर में क्वालिटी हो, आपके काम में क्वालिटी हो, आपकी सोच में क्वालिटी हो, आपके डिज़ाइन में क्वालिटी हो, आपकी साइट के काम में क्वालिटी हो, आपकी डीलिंग में क्वालिटी हो, आपके डॉक्यूमेंट्स में क्वालिटी हो। ऐसी कोई जगह बता दीजिए जहाँ क्वालिटी की आवश्यकता नहीं। इसलिए बोर तो आपको लगता होगा कि 3 घंटे होने जा रहे हैं और बातें करे जा रहा हूँ। मुझे आपके बोर होने की भी चिंता नहीं है, कि बोर होने में भी क्वालिटी होती है। अगर किसी अच्छी चीज़ को सुनने के लिए आपको बोर होना पड़ता है तो होइए, क्योंकि कोई भी चीज़ सीखने के लिए आपको कविताओं से, शायर व शायरी से या फिल्म देखने से तो समझ नहीं आएगा। आपको कंसंट्रेशन तो देनी पड़ेगी, एकाग्रता तो देनी पड़ेगी, और यही इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है। हम डर के भागेंगे, बोर हो जाएंगे। अरे भाई, इंजीनियरिंग तो नाम होने का है बोर, काम में तो बोरियत होती है। कोई काम ऐसा बता दीजिए जहाँ आपको एंटरटेनमेंट मिलेगा। आपको एंटरटेनमेंट के लिए तो एक काल्पनिक दुनिया में जाना पड़ेगा, पर हम तो काल्पनिक दुनिया की बात ही नहीं कर रहे, हम तो वास्तविक दुनिया की बात कर रहे हैं, जहाँ आपको माइंड लगाना है। इंजीनियरिंग तो माइंड का नाम है, अभियंत्री माइंड में आती है, मस्तिष्क में आती है। मस्तिष्क आप यूज़ नहीं करेंगे तो आप इंजीनियर बन नहीं सकते, हो नहीं सकते। इंजीनियरिंग तो माइंड का खेल है, जिस तरह से दूसरे भी प्रोफेशन माइंड का खेल है, और हम तो बिना माइंड आगे चल नहीं सकते। एक एक जगह कैलकुलेशन होती है, हर स्टेप पे कैलकुलेशन होती है, हर स्टेप पे डिज़ाइन होता है। Don't you understand this? At every step there is requirement of calculation, there is requirement of design, there is requirement of procedure. At every step there is requirement of details, there are interconnections and coordinations of quality controls and everywhere. Then how can we run away from that? And if we run away from that, means we run away from our own. And that's why I say text of organization, context of organizations, and these procedures and these approvals and these documents all are required. Again I say, don't waste time. Time is very precious. As I said in this document, as you know very well, in my quality document, I said that don't talk too much, work too much. Be mobile, but don't use mobile. You have to be mobile yourself. Rather than using mobile, you have to use you make yourself mobile, your mind mobile, your actions mobile. Got my point? Don't depend on mobile as instrument, as device, as gadget, but you use your mind as mobile. Your mind is very much mobile, very much, it's longest, it's fastest, it's rapid mobile. It can move more than the speed of Earth that revolves around Sun. So don't waste time on mobile. Use your mind on documents. Create documents, do documents. Quality you have to achieve in every field. निर्माण है, जीवन है, सेवा है, हर कार्य है, शिक्षा है, समाज में, व्यक्ति में उतनी ही आवश्यकता है जितना सांसों में। इसलिए कागज़ की वैल्यू दीजिए, दस्तावेज की वैल्यू दीजिए। ट्राई टू गिव वैल्यू टू डॉक्यूमेंट्स, बिकॉज यू कैन कन्वर्ट ए फॉरेस्ट और ए डेजर्ट टू ए सिटी और एन इंडस्ट्रियल टाउन, फॉर विच quality and safety, health, environment play integrated and merged vital roles in all respects. Quality can never be and must not be compromised by engineers and public. संचार तथा संतुलन अत्यंत आवश्यक सही गुणवत्ता पाने के लिए। कम्युनिकेशन and coordination most significant disciplines and subjects. Continuous improvement of quality is a requirement. No way exists not to comply with defined or specified quality labels, because definition of quality is a must, and that definition requires to be achieved, or else work leads to status of being unsuccessful and to be reperformed. Engineers are problem solvers, and engineers are developers, and engineers are agents of change. that we have to maintain. We must change to meet requirements to achieve intended quality standards for universal recognition of products or goods. I repeat, we must change to meet requirements, to achieve intended quality standards for universal recognition of products or goods. Quality requirements checks being a must. Missing which we have to blame ourselves for quality achievement failure. Engineering means quality application. Quality non-conformance product is called substandards and therefore rejected because it is against engineering and source nature. Source nature, remember, no resource source, original. For natural materials are wasted without any optimum gains, and that is because of non-conformance. Non-conformance, laparwa you can say. Non-conformance, engineer you can say abhyanta. We don't want to be laparwa abhyanta. Non-conformance means engineer abhyanta and either careless or laparwa or ignorant anjan or incompetent asaksham या सक्षम नहीं. One and therefore is a redundant faltu, redundant personal. So we can say again quality non-conformance product is called substandard and therefore rejected because it is against engineering and against source nature. For natural materials are wasted because of non-conformance and without any optimum gains. Non-conformance means engineer who is translated into Hindi abhyanta is either careless and translated into laparwah or ignorant translated into anjan or incompetent saksham nahi. One and therefore is a redundant faltu personal. We have to design and prosecution works. We have designs and prosecution works. Applications must be affected, and you can say engineering, which is abhyantari, and engineering business, both are same, no difference. And we have to thinking based contemplation we have to do. It must be achieved, it must be conducted, it must be done. Without thinking, you cannot do anything. Thinking and thinking to find solutions to problem, very important work. We have to achieve everything which has value and unlimited value, and only way, an exclusive way for reaching solutions, that is thinking. We can say all solutions network must reach compatibility, that is सोच तथा एकाग्रता अत्यंत आवश्यक. Thinking and concentration, certain powers and essential. Certain powers, these are शक्ति है, पक्की शक्ति है, essential है, requirement है. इसके बिना I cannot do without that. Thinking takes everyone to concentration, and concentration takes everyone to end requirement, and that's where it's very important. And analysis, our basis, our unit of finding solution. Every civil engineer knows, every mechanical engineer knows, every electrical engineer knows that they conduct analysis from stage to stage. Job of civil engineer is based on analysis. Theory of structure is based on analysis. Designs is based on analysis. Same way, minute analysis is conducted by mechanical designers everywhere on systems. Analysis is conducted by electrical, electrical engineers to check loads, to devise, to calculate loads on whatever system, whatever building, whatever structure, and how these loads can be distributed rationally so that no overloading is caused. So you can say analysis is something. In engineering, it's a must. Without analysis, engineering cannot move, and without engineering analysis, we cannot do anything. That's also true. It's not conceptual analysis, but it is a real analysis based on forces input and based on, you can say, real problems. And we have to find solution to problems, which is basic requirement of engineers, because without them we cannot move further. And ultimately, our product should be reliability, which is equated to safety from all involved factors, and successful serviceability of intended purpose, along with mandated durability of its working life, and all other necessary resources involved, applicable knowledge areas, factors, which resources must be understood and achieved in all procedures, or else one should learn before taking responsibility, and all foregoing issues must be considered along with all possible risks, or else if failed, all efforts go in vain. We have to be very careful about this, right? And then we can see that our responsibility is everywhere. We have to be smart, smarter, and smartest. We have to start with smart, means determined worker. Think yourself as a worker only. Don't think yourself as something else. Worker, working is required, function is required. Success of engineering lies in solutions and project movement, project motion. Our success does not depend on problems. Our success depends on solving problems. We are not people like others who always try to tie red on files. We are people which we remove red from problems and give green to problems so that project starts, and that is our job. And I think I have given conclusion of today that we have to be smart, smarter, and smartest, and we have to be analyst, and we have to think, and think. And I think that's where problem lies. I close today and we'll see tomorrow, next time. थैंक यू वेरी मच. आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. जय भारत, जय.